started, if I could have Luke please come forward. You ready? All right, if you could please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the state of Colorado and the charter and the ordinances of the town of Timnath and faithfully perform the duties of the office of town council member upon which I am about to enter. Great job. Congratulations. You're welcome. I'll have you sign. Can we borrow your pen? I'm even shaking. Okay, go ahead and sign right there. All right, you're welcome. Congratulations again. All right, next we will have Dennis come forward. All right, Dennis, if you could please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Dennis Tertoda, solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the state of Colorado and the charter and the ordinances of the town of Timnath and faithfully perform the duties of the office of town council member upon which I'm about to enter. Perfect. Congratulations. You're welcome. All right. Thank you all for being here tonight. That is both of our new town council members, so congratulations to both of you.
All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. This evening, we have two meetings scheduled to start at 6 p.m. The first should be relatively short, which is the Timnath Local Licensing Authority meeting. So we're going to do that first, followed by the regular Timnath Town Council meeting. So with that, I will call to order the Timnath Local Licensing Authority meeting. Ms. Bernhoff, will you please take the roll?
Mayor Robert Axpacker,
Present?
Mayor Pro Tem Luke Wagner,
Here.
Councilmember Bill Jenkins,
Here.
Councilmember Jeremy Holt,
Here.
and Councilmember Dennis Tertoda.
Here. All right, all licensing board members are present. We will start with the consent agenda, which consists of approval of the March 10th, 2026 Timnath Liquor Licensing Authority minutes. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as read?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, nay. Consent agenda is approved. We have one business item this evening consisting of resolution number L2 2026, Series 2026, a resolution approving the liquor license to Wild Pastures Burger Company. This is a public hearing, so Ms. Steffel.
Thank you. So the town has received a new, we'll make a quick presentation first, I think. Okay, thanks. The town has received a new application for a liquor license for a hotel and restaurant liquor license. And for Wild Pasture Burger Company, this has actually been reviewed by your deputy town clerk, Lizzie Alpaz. And so she is willing to make the presentation.
Yes, thank you. We received the application on March 11th. We have reviewed the complete application. Everything is completed. Everything is up to date. We have only one review to print just because the fingerprinting took a little longer for one of the members, but we have already gone through all the key points, the summary, and the review criteria, and the town clerk and the staff recommend approving the resolution for the liquor licenses.
Thank you, Ms. Alpaz. I believe they did submit the community survey. Are you able to just kind of briefly summarize what was contained in that?
Yes, of course. They had 373 contacts and attempts, from which 349 were residents and 24 were business. They had 118 signatures, 116 being in favor, and 2 saying just no. So that's the total summary.
All right. Thank you very much. It looks like we have the applicant here. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Just want to make sure we're up. Oh, can you hear me? Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Robert Runco, attorney registration 41932 on behalf of the applicant. I'm here with Brandon Caesar, the manager.
All right. Welcome. I know we've reviewed the application and stuff, but maybe this would be a good time to just kind of tell us a little bit about the operation and what we can expect here in town.
Yeah. Do you want to swear Mr. Caesar in? And then we do have a brief presentation ready for you.
Great. Yeah, Ms. Bernhoff, if you're willing to do that.
It's not required to swear him in.
Mr. Caesar, can you give the authority your name and then spell your last name?
My name is Brandon Caesar, spelled C-E-S-A-R.
And can you give us your title in relation to Wild Pastures?
My title is President of Restaurant Operations.
And can you give us, or as the president, are you familiar with the day-to-day operations of the business?
I'm familiar with the day-to-day operations.
Can you explain any professional experience that you have that would relate to managing this type of business if the license were issued?
Yes, we have a location in Boulder that's been open for roughly 6 years. We've had a liquor license for about 5 of those years. We have had one attempt at a sting operation that we passed and no failures.
Can you give us the overall theme or the concept of Wild Pastures?
Wild Pastures focuses on kind of a health-conscious burger concept, 100% grass-fed beef, frying in beef tallow, some organic produce, scratch-made sauces, kind of your take on a quick service burger but elevated.
And in addition to burgers, I'm assuming like French fries, what's the other?
Yeah, we do fried items in beef tallow, so French fries, fried pickles, jalapenos. As far as other burgers, we do a chicken burger, a house-made veggie burger. We do shakes that we make scratch in-house with no added sugars. We do some bone broth. Pretty simple menu at that point. That's about most of it.
What about alcohol? What does that selection look like?
So for the alcohol, this location, we did go with a tap. So we'll have 6 tap options for beer, 5 for beer, 1 for cider. Might have a couple canned options to get some organic and gluten-free options in as well.
At the Boulder location, what is your percentage of food to alcohol sales?
In the Boulder location, we get about 1 to 2% of our food sales as alcohol.
And do you anticipate that to be the same at this location?
I would like it to be more with the tap system, maybe 5%.
Can you give us kind of a brief overview of kind of the customer experience? When I walk in the front door, sounds like fast casual. I probably walk up to a counter to order. I'm not greeted by a host and assigned a seat.
Correct. It's a quick service operation. So you'll enter and get into a queue line to take an order at a register. Once you take that order, you'll have a table number to take to your seat, and we will deliver the food to you. At that point, you're welcome to clear your own table, or we will take care of that for you.
And when a guest comes in and they want to order an alcoholic beverage, how do you ensure that that guest is over the age of 20?
We have a policy to ID every guest.
Do you have a policy as it relates to vertical IDs?
We do not accept any vertical or expired IDs.
What if like a group of people walk in, some of them go grab the table, one of them goes up to place the order, places an order for the full table? How does that work to ensure, again, that everyone getting a beverage is over the age of 20?
Everyone at the table would be ID'd in that case or verified who was drinking the alcohol before it was ran to the table.
And training for your employees on all these policies, is that done in-house or is that done through an outside?
We do have a tip certification in process for all the management candidates. We use company ABT Alcohol Service. We use it in Boulder as well. We do plan on everyone that's serving alcohol at least get tip certified online, maybe not with a proctor. We haven't made that decision yet.
And how many employees do you anticipate at this location?
We're thinking about 20 for the opening.
What will the operating hours be?
Will be Monday through Sunday, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Alcohol be available during all those hours?
Alcohol will be available all those hours.
And food as well?
Correct.
And then what is your anticipated opening?
We're anticipating opening on March 12th. Sorry, May 12th.
Those are all the questions I have. The authority may have some follow-up.
Great. Thank you so much for that overview. Board members, any questions for the applicant?
Just a comment, I've been in your Boulder location, had burger and fries there, no alcohol, but it was great. So I'm looking forward to your opening.
That's an awesome comment to have on the record. Take it.
All right, very good, Ms. Steffel.
Just for the record, I don't know if we've mentioned the location, so I want to make sure we have that on the hearing. So the location of the liquor license will be 5451 East Harmony Road, Building 1, Unit 101, in the town of Timnath, which is not within 500 feet of any school or location that's been denied a liquor license in the last 2 years. And the town also reviewed the other requirements, did not find that the applicant in the background check was disqualified for any reason, and there were, as Lizzie mentioned per the question, there were surveys submitted that indicated the neighborhood's need and interest in having this type of license in the area.
Thank you. And for the record, the only similar license in the area is Cello's, correct?
That's correct.
Board Member Dakota.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I just a comment. I appreciate that you've chosen Timnath as your second location. And if I'm not mistaken, it's actually his second location in the country.
That's correct.
And I won't look forward to eating the meat burgers because I'm vegetarian, but I appreciate the fact that you do have a vegetarian option.
We have the vegetarian option and a separate grill to cook it on.
Terrific.
Fortunately, the fried food is fried in tallow, so you have to stay away from that. But we did bring in some chips that are fried in avocado oil.
Great. And I appreciate the mission of Wild Pastures that includes animal welfare, organic, and protection of the environment. So I applaud you for that.
All right. If there's no additional questions, is there a motion to approve a resolution approving the liquor license to Wild Pastures Burger Company?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, any record?
No, I think it's a great addition to the town. I'm sure our citizens are looking forward to your opening day, and hopefully you'll have a very successful business here.
I would say also welcome. Any new and good food is extremely welcomed here in Timnath. I do want to highlight, this could have been probably a 60-second board meeting, but your thoroughness gives us in the town a much better idea of who you are, what you're doing. So I appreciate both of you, the question and answer portion of it. I wish you guys all the success.
Dakota, anything to add? I also will join my fellow board members in welcoming you to Timnath. We're very excited that you're here. The community repeatedly talks about how they would like more local dining options, and so we're just really happy to welcome you to town. For the record, I would note that I believe that the application meets all the criteria. None of the disqualifications apply. With respect to a finding that there's a need in the neighborhood, I believe the general community sentiment supports this, as well as the neighborhood survey. Certainly the area is not oversaturated. And so I appreciate hearing about your plans for alcohol compliance. It sounds like you put some good thought into that, so I will support this as well. Very well. All those in favor of approving the resolution approving the liquor license to Wild Pastures Burger Company signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, nay? All right, passes unanimously.
Thank you, everyone.
Welcome, and I suspect you'll see one, if not more, of us on March 12th, so, or on May 12th. We look forward to it. If there's no objection, we will adjourn the liquor board meeting. And I will now call to order the Tuesday, April 28th Timnath regular town council meeting. Ms. Bernhoff, will you please take the roll?
Mayor Robert Axmacher,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Luke Wagner.
Here.
Councilmember Jeremy Holt,
Here.
Councilmember Bill Jenkins,
Here.
Councilmember Dennis Stratoda.
Here.
All council members are present and accounted for. Let me officially welcome Councilmember Stratoda to the board. We look forward to having you as part of our team here, and let me also welcome back Councilmember Wagner in his reelection. Pleasure to have you here as well. All right, Council. Before we move forward, are there any requests to amend the agenda? Seeing none, we will move to public comment. Do we have the sign-in sheet? While we're grabbing the sign-in sheet, public comment is an opportunity for members of the public to address the council on matters relevant to town that don't otherwise have an opportunity for comment during today's agenda. We do not have any items designated for a public hearing today, so folks are welcome to speak on anything. Each speaker is entitled to 3 minutes. And let me begin by inviting Larry Schubert to the microphone. Good evening, sir. Thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me. This is Larry Schubert. I live in Wild Wing. I didn't think I would start this so hungry, but there I am. First, I'd like to congratulate the newly elected or re-elected members of the council. I sincerely hope that fresh ideas come to bear on the challenges that do face Timnath in the coming year. I have a few subjects on which I'd like to have the council consider during the coming year. First and foremost, I see the hiring of an economic development director as crucial to moving the city in the right direction. High-quality business development takes expertise, and it takes consistent engagement. Bad development just happens. Other cities our size have benefited immensely from taking this step. With the right person in place, this would be an investment in our economic future. Opportunities are already being lost due to lack of engagement. Now, out of necessity, this is currently a part-time job for the council, a a part-time job for city staff. Let's make it a full-time endeavor. And this leads to my second point, that being a renewed focus on Old Town development. In my opinion, there's unrealized potential there. It could be the real heart of our community. We could have a vibrant Main Street if we were committed to building the business relationships that can make it happen, which goes to my first point. Let's facilitate business growth there and bring back the community events that would help those businesses to prosper. There are no longer any traffic or safety concerns that would dictate otherwise. My last point relates to parks and recreation. We have wonderful community and neighborhood parks in this city, but we're a community on a river that has very limited public access to it. Now, admittedly, I do not know the legal or economic factors involved, but as a citizen, I see Sweatsville Zoo just sitting there, unused. And I see the property across the street, newly on the market. And I can envision a wonderful city park there with minimal infrastructure, some walking paths, some picnic tables, and access to the river. Timnath River Park. Does that not sound like a good addition to a revitalized historic downtown? Thank you for your attention. I hope the new council will move forward with energy and wisdom and economic foresight. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Gary Spurrier. I live at 4496 Haymill Court, and I am speaking tonight on behalf of Guide Our Growth. First, we also want to congratulate Dennis Strakota and Luke Wagner on their election to Town Council. We look forward to working productively with them and the entire council in the coming months and years in promoting the healthy growth of Timnath. Second, and in that light, we'd like to take this moment to reiterate our support for the Town Council's commitment in 2024 to devote financial resources funding economic development staffing. That could include an economic development director or similar positions as part of town staff. To our knowledge, that hasn't been done yet, and we believe that the new council has an excellent opportunity now to follow through on the 2024 commitment. Our view is that the current lack of such staff has slowed the economic development of Timnath, resulted in uncoordinated and unwise development proposals, and hindered the redevelopment of Old Town. For example, with regard to Old Town in particular, economic development staff could accelerate Old Town's redevelopment, including by leveraging the new recreation center to drive broader growth in that area. We also note that other towns of similar size in northern Colorado already have hired economic development staff and have realized healthy development gains by doing so. We're going to reshare a position paper that we originally provided to Council in September 2024, in which we explain our support for hiring economic development staff and the expected benefits of doing so. To conclude, again, we offer our congratulations to Luke and Dennis. We look forward to working with you on these topics moving forward. Thank you. And can I hand this position paper to someone? Thank you and good evening.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Spurrier. Next, I have Lisa Lake. Lake, good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Lisa Lake, 5751 Redbridge Drive here in Timnath. And I am here to speak on item 6E, which does not have a public hearing until the next council meeting. So I just want to acknowledge that, that I will have the opportunity to speak at that meeting as well. And I just want to speak on this and start with a quote. Recreational opportunities contribute to a community's quality of life and improve the physical and mental health of community members. As such, they have become an increasingly important factor in determining where to live or locate a business. Trails connect to quality of life and outdoor recreation amenities such as Timnath Reservoir, the Poudre River Trail, local parks, and Old Town Timnath. There is a desire to improve physical connectivity of subdivisions and communities by creating a cohesive trail system to support a town-wide sense of community. Additional connectivity to the parks and commercial centers via alternative walking and biking will help meet recreation, quality of life, and economic goals. All of those are from town documents. They are from the 2020 Comprehensive Plan that talks extensively about some recreational opportunities as well as the trail connectivity. I know I've mentioned before, I am an e-bike user. I have a Class 3 e-bike, which based on that proposal, I would be prohibited from riding on all of our trails. Anytime a new community or new development is built within the town limits, council talks about the trail connectivity. I'm a recreational user of my e-bike. I looked up my data, and in the last 10 months, which is when I purchased the bike, I've gone over 220 miles, and my average speed is under 10 miles an hour. My average high speed is under 20 miles an hour, and that's always when there's no people present. And there are 3 classes of e-bikes, and Class 3 is the only class that would be prohibited from riding on our trail systems. To give you an idea of who some of those e-bike users are, I looked at a survey that was conducted by Colorado Mesa University titled E-Bikes on Public Lands, a survey of e-bike users in Colorado. Out of the 321 people who answered the question on age, the age ranged from 25 to 87 years, with the average age of the e-bike user at 58.03 and the median age at 60. When asked why they purchased e-bikes, 2/3 of the people who answered had 4 of the top reasons: recreational purposes, assistance with hills, increased fitness, and to be able to keep up when riding with friends and family. Now, I'm not the type who's riding my bike 30 miles an hour on the trails, and so I feel that it would be unfair for me to be riding with other people having the same behaviors, but because I have a particular bike, I'm not allowed on our trails. I know one of the concerns that comes up is related to injuries related to e-bikes, and so I looked up some information from the Consumer Product Safety Commission from 2017 to 2022. I know that's already old, but that's the information they had. 55 of e-bike users who are admitted to the ER were injured on streets and highways, as opposed to 8% on other public property and only 2% on places of recreation or sports. Related to the number of deaths, there were 104 deaths. 56% of those were collisions with motor vehicles. So basically, by not allowing people on the bike trails, you're pushing them onto the streets where I believe there's a greater risk to me and other bikers. So some of the things I'd like you to consider before the public hearing at the next meeting is, what is the goal you're trying to accomplish? What behavior are you trying to either prevent or promote? Does this policy do that? As an equivalent, we don't limit sports cars on the road because they have the ability to go fast. So if there were limits to speeds, things like that, I'd like you to consider that.
Thank you, Ms. Lake.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. All right, next we have Jackie Dvorak. Good evening.
Thank you. I'm not a public speaker, so. My name is Jackie Dvorak, and I live in Old Town Timnath for the last 22 years. I'm a real estate broker, a wife, and a mother of 2 amazing kids. I believe there are 3 key factors for a successful and prosperous Old Town. 1 is clean air, 2 is protecting our water, and 3 is traffic count. First, clean air. As we know, Timnath was founded in 1882. The hotel was built in 1900. The brick craftsman on Main Street that I manage was built in 1914, and my family's craftsman was built in 1920. Now, Alpine Cabinets moved into town in 1968, and they continue to pump out carcinogens. However, they're operating just under state guidelines. We've had roundtables and endless talkings with the town and ordinances and how to go about it. However, these fumes are so strong, we've personally installed industrial carbon filters in our shop. It is impossible to garden or work outside during business hours. During the summer, we have chosen to have a membership a pool membership in Fort Collins so that our children can play outside because the fumes are so strong from 2 properties away. We need to find a solution so that people can enjoy breathing clean air while shopping and eating in Old Town. Number 2 is protecting our water. Old Town was originally an agricultural community. We have one of the highest amounts of state permitted wells per capita. When thinking of Timnath, I think of our beautiful trees and unique gardens. We have enjoyed the added beauty that Timnath Lakes has brought to us, as well as the upgraded bike lanes and walking paths. However, it has come at an expense. Our wells are dry, and they are too low if there is water in them to run irrigation pumps. It has drastically affected our ability to grow our gardens, to preserve our food, and to feed our families. This has been going on for years of no water in our wells. Enough is enough. Hold the builders accountable and have a clear and transparent resolution for all well holders who have taken the appropriate steps. Number 3 is traffic count. Last spring, I was baking bread under the cottage industry and selling it Saturday mornings from 8 a.m. to noon. I usually sold out from 16 to 20 loaves before noon. After the redirection of traffic, my sales dropped to less than 4 loaves and then dwindled down to 1 by the end of the summer. The town was lucky to get 2 railroad crossings, but it would be nice to be able to open County Road 5 and get the traffic counts back up that we need in order to invest into our future businesses in Old Town. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dvorak. Barbara Fredman.
Good evening. I'm Barbara Fredman, and I live at 6668 Clovis Court. Congratulations to the new council members, and thank you very much to the older council members and mayor who have done such a great job here in Timnath. I'm here because I voted for Dennis, and the reason I voted for Dennis is because he pledged to work on revitalizing Old Town and to push for economic development director. I feel that a vibrant Old Town would make Timnath a more desirable place to live. While developments like Ladera are fine, they do not encourage community. And with the addition of the community center near Old Town, this is a perfect time to develop that opportunity. I moved here because I thought that Old Town Timnath would be developed, and I really hope that the council can work together to make that happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fredden. Those are all the folks that I have signed up, but before we move on, is there anyone present that did not get a chance to sign up but would like to address council? Seeing no one, we will then move on to our consent agenda this evening. First is minute approvals, Timnath Town Council work session from April 14th, and Timnath Town Council regular meeting from April 14th, as well as resolution number 28, series 2026, a resolution approving increased support from HS Incorporated, doing business as Service Master Janitorial Solutions for the continued and expanded upkeep of the Town Center Community Room under the existing independent contractor agreement. Councilor, are there any requests to remove any item from the consent agenda? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as read?
So moved.
Is there a second? All right. Moved and seconded. All those in favor of approving consent agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, nay? All right, it passes unanimously. We'll move on to mayor and council reports. Begin with Councilmember Strakota. Anything to share?
Oh, only to just to acknowledge my friends and neighbors who attended the swearing in, and I appreciate the support that I received during the campaign. It was, you know, a great experience. I usually was on the other side of political campaigns and worried about having to actually put myself out there as a candidate, but it was a good experience. The only other thing I wanted to mention was that I had an opportunity to attend the competition down in Denver regarding the Ladera development. And I know Bill will go into a little more detail about it, but I thought it was great. It was great competition, and was able to connect with one of the University of Denver students who made the presentation, and he passed along the slide deck that they had presented at the competition, and they were both very good presentations, and I thought provided great information as the possibilities for a mixed-use development in Ladera.
Sure, Councilmember Holt. All right, bear with me. I got a lot here. I was missed the last meeting. So first, because I was not here, I want to, because I wasn't able to, formally thank former Councilmember Lake for her time. And as her text read to me a week ago, you're going to miss sitting next to me, and I will. But I'm pretty sure we'll probably see her sharing the good word as she always did with us. So that's first. Second, I wish that whole group that just left would have stayed in for part of this for an update when it comes to the Main Street Board. So the Main Street Board is moving along at a rapid pace. Our final application has been submitted, and hopefully we will know here in the next couple weeks of the full Main Street approval. So I think things are definitely moving at a rapid pace there. A lot of community input. Feel free to join us in some of those meetings, especially Old Town residents and business owners. Things are definitely moving along with the Main Street. Third, I was tapped to be part of our marketing and rebranding cohort, which is a very neat experience. I can tell you there is an extreme amount of thought going into this entire process, from Timnath business owners to Timnath residents to historians to the creativity and the ideas. I know that there's a meeting coming up, if I'm not mistaken, with some key stakeholders on May 5th at Pedro's. A lot of people involved, a lot of good insight. I'm super excited to see what comes of that. But things like that don't happen overnight. So I'm assuming it'll be probably later this summer, early fall before that gets rolled out. Also, the mayor and I were part of the kickoff meeting for our rec center. Was utterly surprised when I walked in the room and we ran out of seats. We had to get extra tables. I think there was 25, maybe 26 was the final count of folks that were in that room. What I thought was pretty awesome is that we have some of the best when it comes to architects, when it comes to civil engineers, design crew, and GC. Even cooler that there seems to be an employee to most of those organizations that actually resides here in Timnath. So not only do we have nationwide representation from some of these major companies that knock it out of the park with what they do, but some of their project managers live right here. So their emphasis on what that rec center will be isn't just a corporate build, it's what Timnath wants. And I can tell you that there is a huge emphasis on the importance of where we chose to put that location. Specific to Old Town, there is definitely a push to bring that full circle when it comes to the revitalization of Old Town. So just all that to say that we are listening loud and clear. We are doing our best. No promises made. I don't want to be on record saying you said this, but I can tell you there's a lot of people fighting for the same exact thing, and that is to bring Timnath up to the forefront, revitalize the areas that need revitalized, and make the things that are coming the best possible. And then in our minutes that we get, I have had the pleasure of walking and attending several either ribbon cuttings, grand openings. There's business in Timnath right now. There's a lot of business right on the other side of this building, if I'm not mistaken, and Director Robinson might be able to correct me on this, but I think we were almost full in the two buildings behind us with new businesses. I know Back Nine, a new golf location is there with Wild Pastures coming, Black Diamond Orthodontics. There's a lot of business coming. I know we would all like to see even more and faster, but I was happy to see that those buildings that sat empty for so long are about full with some good businesses that people are already attending. So that's it.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Yeah, so I have two things. I volunteered to be a judge for NAIOPS, which is the Commercial Real Estate Development Association for Colorado, for the Rocky Mountain Real Estate Challenge, which was presented by Land Title. I spent 3 days on this, 2 trips to Denver, as part of the competition judging. Really some high-quality judges beyond myself, for sure, that were very much into the numbers and the business design. The two universities, as Dennis previously mentioned, University of Colorado and University of Denver, their MBA students competed in a design competition for the design of 14.5 acres on Future Lake in Ladera, with a 850-foot-long boardwalk, which is planned for there. And in attendance on the final night, there were over 500 commercial real estate development professionals in the room for the presentation. And as one of the competition groups said about Timnath, they both presented excellent financials, demographics, et cetera, on Timnath, and they described Timnath as a gem in plain sight. Our demographics are outstanding. There's an enormous amount of money that is leaking out of Timnath in terms of commercial opportunity, and to have that kind of data presented to the top 500 commercial developers in the state of Colorado means Timnath is going to see more interest down the road as a result of participating in this, being the focus of this competition. There are a lot of other places besides Ladera where the opportunity awaits to the right creative business people. So I'm very happy to have participated in that, and I also thank Jeremy and Dennis, who both attended, as well as some of the staff who were shown in a little Ladera video representing the town of Timnath as a friendly place for commercial real estate development. And I think that message got out big time. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens there. The second thing is our water series, which I know we've been advertising through our website and emails, but a couple weeks ago we had our first session, which I attended and benefited from. It was on smart water, water-wise irrigation, and so I ended up checking all my sprinkler heads. Some of them were the wrong ones, and I got to switch them out and improve my watering. But the other thing I learned was the rebate program in place, and I managed to put in a WaterWise controller that cost, I think it was $104 plus tax off of Amazon. I got $100 rebated from Fort Collins Loveland Water District just by sending it in to sending my receipt into billing, and swapped it out, and I expect I'll save about 30% this year on irrigation. Has built-in Wi-Fi, it's water-wise, it knows the weather, and it adjusts according to the weather as well, and it works off your phone so you can access it. It's all very, very cool stuff, and I think I spent $15 in about 45 minutes of my time to install it. So very cool. This Thursday is the second in our water series, and April 30th at 5:30 here at Town Center for a practical session on homeowner landscaping rights and the rules that shape landscaping and water use. This session covers what HOAs and metro districts can and cannot require, key state water laws, and a brief over of non-potable water systems used locally. And the speaker is Darren Knowles from Northern Water, and I'm sure we'll learn a lot. So hope we can fill the room. We had a good turnout last time. I think maybe close to 30 people in the room. So well attended. All right, that's it for me.
Thank you, sir. Councilor Wagner.
Yeah, well, Bill stole most of my thunder with the water series, but I just want to give another plug for it. Thank you, Bill. I just want to say that this committee was formed several months ago, and our goal was really to educate residents and really talk about how to conserve water. Obviously, we've had a really tough winter, and so far beginning to spring for water. So please come out and support and learn and come out for the town. So excited to see the series continue on. There's a total of 4, is that right, Logan? So, and I know, Ben, these are gonna be online for those who can attend as well. So I think they're gonna be up on the website, is that right?
Yes, that'll be right. We are recording the sessions and we'll put them back on the website once we finalize them.
Awesome. So, yeah, thank you, Logan, for all your hard work on this, and thank you, Phil, for being the MC. So, super excited about that. I had the opportunity to go out and visit the town cleanup. Amazing out at the reservoir. You know, I was hesitant, I would say, about the new location was farther away from me, but I went out there and it was amazing. I thought it was more efficient to get in and out. You know, I thought at the old community park, there was the line that formed and it was tough to get in and out. You had to kind of wait for people to get in and out. So kudos to the staff, Tom, and your staff for thinking of a more efficient location for residents. So I thought it was great. So good job.
Thank you. Congratulations to all my fellow council members for saying all the things I was going to say. The only thing that was not covered is we have a new town clerk. So I'd like to welcome Caitlin Bernhardt to the team. Thank you for being here. Thank you for choosing Timnath.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm excited to be here. And Dennis, I apologize. I'm pronouncing your last name wrong. I now know how to pronounce it correctly.
Very good. Well, appreciate you being here, and you jumped right into the fire with the swearing in of our new council members. So, all right. Anything before we move on to staff reports? Okay. We'll begin with town manager strategic plan update. Manager Adams.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, members of the council. As usual, some updates to the strategic plan. This time, we actually went for 2 quarters at once. We had a timing issue, if you'll recall. December, we just do the one council meeting. It stacked it up, so we were able to do 2 quarters at once. And I would call just a couple of items to your attention and to that of the public. The first one is progress on the Reservoir Master Plan. Actually going to be hopefully approved tonight. A lot of work into that, so that's a really good item. And I'm not sure how much people in the public know that, but that's a guiding document for the future of the town's involvement there at the reservoir. Next, wanted to plug from our police department that they formed up a Timnath retail theft that's meeting now quarterly to work against some of the retail theft we're seeing. Not necessarily a lot in Timnath, but we can always try and be better. So I thought that's another one that the public may not be aware of that's interesting. And then an update on Pulse. which this number is probably outdated even by now, but has laid almost 400,000 linear feet of fiber to premises across the community, which I think is pretty staggering when you think about 400,000 feet of cable. So pretty cool updates.
Thank you, sir. And with a new council on board, we will be participating in a process to update the strategic plan. And so once that has been done, we will be sure to share that with everyone. So, thank you. Anything for the town manager? Okay. Move on to finance. Ms. Gagliardi.
Good evening. There's two items I wanted to highlight for you all. One, we were notified that our 2024 audit was awarded the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting. I just wanted to give a shout out to the finance team. It's an incredibly hard job, and we got it for the second year in a row. The second is related to the rec center financing. So we were notified that we got a AA- rating for the bonds, which is low risk, very strong for our inaugural issuance. They spoke to strong financial management practices and policies, and the dedicated sales tax worked really favorably for us. We did post the offering docs on Friday, the preliminary offering statement. We anticipate a sale date 1 week from tomorrow on May 6th, and everything looks really favorable as far as interest rates and pricing, particularly going at the beginning of the month and where the municipal bond market is. And with that, I'll answer any questions.
It is awesome on both fronts. Congratulations to you and your team, and thank you for all the hard work there. Finance questions.
Yes. So, Lisa, maybe you can, again, congratulations on the certificate. Having worked for GFOA back in my early career, I know that that's not an easy award to achieve, and as well as the credit rating you got on the Recreation Center. One question I had for you, just in terms of potential future revisions to the financial report, and I'm wondering whether or not you have available historical information readily available to be able to do another comparison for revenues and expenditures, so that you can show historical data, for example, on the revenue side, showing the percent of revenues collected for that month compared to the previous, say, 3 years. Is that something that your database would allow for in the future?
Yeah, I will say the previous 3 years might be difficult because we did the new chart of accounts restructuring, but we could definitely pull in the prior year and build a historical record from there. So that's something that we can probably look at maybe after the audit's done and bring it with our second quarter financials.
Great, yeah, because I think what would help with is compared to prior year,
Sure.
just, and where we're at with the current year, is there much deviation?
Sure.
And that would tell us whether or not we're on track or on trend.
Yep,
So,
yep. I'll add that to our list.
Other finance questions?
No, other than congratulations again on the award. And then secondly, I think it's worth noting that the first 2 months showed a 4% increase or 4% growth in our sales tax and use revenues, which I think is an important point, given the fact that some of the surrounding communities are not seeing that. They're seeing negative numbers in their sales tax and use tax. So, and I appreciate the budgeting and the conservative approach that you guys took in terms of projecting revenues. So I think we're in pretty good shape.
I think so.
At least so far.
We're trending positively for
Yeah.
this point in the year. Yep.
Yeah.
Quick question for you. think you had mentioned it before, I don't remember in what order, but Amazon is probably our fastest growing tax intake, I guess, in town. How quick are they approaching? I know there's been some concern in residents with the potential of a Loveland, Costco or Walmart, and a Windsor, one or the other, whatever it may be. I don't pay much attention to that, but do you see that trending? And is it trending faster? Maybe just give us a little bit of insight of how Amazon is impacting with our tax intake.
Yeah, as far as the February financials, Amazon is our third highest, of course, and it is up 40% from last year. So at this same time, so that trajectory is positive and could offset some of that potential.
It's huge. Probably very premature, but with some of the new businesses, the restaurants, we have a couple restaurants that are now 3 months or so in the books. Are we seeing that? Is that part of the trend that you're seeing from some sales intake as well?
I haven't looked at those in detail as far as the new businesses. I'll probably look at that after the first quarter and see what impact they have.
Yeah, I'd love to see that too, just to see with what's coming in. Obviously, we're continuing to grow, but as Ladera expands with some of their new restaurants, a couple of them here and other businesses, that would be good to see what that impact is as well. Awesome. And as everybody has mentioned, congratulations being on the finance committee and seeing how hard you guys work to achieve that. Does nothing but great things for our town. So I know how hard you guys work. Congratulations.
All right. Thank you. Public Works, Director Stone.
Yeah, I just had a couple of things to add. The first was an internal promotion. So Kim in our group has been promoted to the town engineer effective last Monday. Part of the reason is one of the projects highlighted, of course, is the Timnath, or the Safety Action Plan. And you'll notice we're really kicking that off this year. So you'll see tubes out on different parts of the roads, those that help measure how many cars and also the speeds of the cars. So just let everybody know that's what they're doing out there. So that's the two things I have.
Thank you, and Kim, congratulations. We're very thankful for you. You do a great job, and the promotion is very well deserved. All right, questions for Public Works? All right. Police Department, Chief Scott. File this under no news is good news. All right, questions for Chief Scott? All right, thank you for being here, Chief. Community Development, Director Robinson. Thank you, sir. Parks and Recs, Director Exall.
Yeah, so we were pretty happy with the way things turned out. When we were using a new location, we weren't sure how it was going to turn out, but overall we had positive feedback. We're still looking for feedback, any ideas or ways to make it even more streamlined. We had a few people getting lost, couldn't figure out how to get to shredding, but overall it was successful. We had 503 vehicles come through. Some of those were doubles and triples, and I think I saw one car like 4 or 5 times, but yeah, it was an SUV, so they didn't have a trailer. So, but overall, it was a successful event. And so, yeah, that's all I have unless you have any other questions.
Just curious, and this is going to scare me with the result. How many of those giant bins do we fill in this event? I mean, I know it's all for good, but what kind of impact are we making?
I will get those numbers and include it in my next report.
Yeah.
I don't have those handy, but I know Callie would have them.
Yeah, I think sitting in the line, Luke jokes around every year that he is going to beat Phil just to get in line so he doesn't have to wait in line. And this year it was so smoothly run. Helps that I showed up early. And kudos to Tom. It was a cold, chilly day, and he was out there in shorts working his butt off. So good on you for doing that.
Attire.
Yes. And I only got slightly injured by a cushion because I followed the rules and walked things all the way to the back, and a guy was on the side that didn't know and was heave ho and some stuff on the, so it was pretty interesting. But the setup in and out, I don't even know that there was much of a line on Busgrove to get in and out of it. I think it was the right location. 500 plus vehicles is awesome. So good job, guys.
All right, anything else? Very good, well, oh, go ahead, sorry.
Oh, just quick question, Tom. So do you know, compared to last year, the number of vehicles, was there a drop-off just because of the new location?
So this was our second highest number. I think we had 529 a couple years ago, but this is definitely our highest turnout in a while.
Yeah, it was definitely more efficient to be able to get through. My only complaint is that I needed to wash my car afterwards.
Yeah, I was sitting in that right on that road, and I had a lot of dirt and grit going on too. So yeah, I hear you.
Thank you to all the directors for these updates. We really have a lot going on in town, and it's really helpful to hear about the great things that all of our town staff is doing. So I appreciate you taking the time for those updates. All right, we will now move on to our regular business items, beginning with item 6A, election of a mayor pro tem. Ms. Steffel.
Okay, thank you. Wait a minute. There's no slide for this. That's 'cause I didn't make one. Okay, sorry about that. I forgot about this, the next two items, since they're sort of business housekeeping things. I don't think they got the slides. But this is resolution number 29, series 2026. No, it is not. It is just the election. There's no resolution. We just need a motion to elect a mayor pro tem, and this is a requirement under the town charter that a new mayor pro tem be elected. And so you guys can have a nomination if you'd like, and all we need is a motion.
Very good, thank you. Is there a motion relevant to the mayor pro tem?
Yep. I move to re-elect Luke Wagner as mayor pro tem of the town to serve until council meeting following the until November 2028.
I'll second.
All right, thank you, Councilor House. Councilor Jenkins. Has been moved and seconded that Luke Wagner be elected as mayor pro tem. Is there any discussion on this?
I'll add some discussion. I think Luke has done a phenomenal job. I think the town would agree based on Luke being up here today as a re-elect with several votes as well. I think he knows the position well. He's done the position well, and is the right fit for that position. So I strongly believe that Luke is a good fit to continue to be mayor pro tem.
Jenkins?
Yeah, I would agree. He's done a good job, and we look forward to continued good work.
Not having worked with Luke before, I can say, though, that he was a great resource just in terms of bouncing ideas off, and I'm sure that he will serve well in that capacity.
I support this nomination. I am eternally grateful to all the council members, but especially to Councilmember Wagner. He puts so much effort into this job, is always well prepared, and I know that this does not come without sacrifice to all the other things he has going on in his life, and I couldn't be happier to that you be reappointed as mayor pro tem. All right. All those in favor of electing Luke Wagner as mayor pro tem signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Mayor pro tem Wagner, congratulations. We'll move on now to item 6B, Resolution 29, Series 2026, the resolution appointing town council representatives for local and regional boards, councils, and committees. Steffel.
Thank you. So this is a housekeeping item, but also important in that the town charter again requires that the council can make appointments to regional boards, councils, and committees. And we have a number of council committees that do require an appointment following the new election. And what we have done is put together a proposed resolution with some recommendations from the mayor as to whom he believes would be appropriate representatives of the town on each of these committees. And of course, if you want to make a modification, you could make that as part of your motion. The first one we have is the Town Finance Committee. And the Town Finance Committee is 7 members that review the town's financial health and make recommendations about financial information for the town and the community. The committee has either 1 or 2 council members, and the recommendation is to appoint 2 council members, Councilmember Wagner and Councilmember Strokota. The second one is the PROS Committee, which is the Parks, Recreation, Open Space, and Trails, which again makes recommendations on those recreation items, and generally may have 1 or 2 council members of the 9 committee members, and the recommendation would be to appoint Councilmember Holt and Mayor Oxmacher. The next one is the Main Street Committee, which is a nonprofit, and the town has an ex officio, so a non-voting board member that sits on that committee and can participate but not vote. And the recommendation would be to appoint Councilmember Strokota with Councilmember Holt as an alternative in the event that the first appointee is not available to attend a meeting. Finally, the Larimer County Behavioral Health Policy Council, the recommendation is to, there it is, out of order, appoint 2 representatives, which would be Councilmember Jenkins and Mayor Oxmacher. Next, we have the North Front Range Metropolitan Planning Organization, and the recommendation is to reappoint Councilmember Jenkins to that position. Finally, the Safety Action Plan Commission, and the recommendation is to appoint, and this, I'll just kind of note this one is a little bit different because it's a temporary commission just until the Safety Action Plan is completed in a number of months, only expected to meet a handful of times, and the recommendation would be to appoint Councilmember Jenkins and Councilmember Wagner.
Thank you, Ms. Steffel, and let me just say, in reaching out to everyone and talking about preferences, everyone wanted to step up and everyone wanted to be a part of everything. And I just really appreciate everyone's dedication. In making these recommendations, I tried to take into account the conversations that we all had. So I appreciate everyone's willingness to do their part. With that, is there a motion to approve the resolution appointing town council representatives for local and regional boards, councils, and committees?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. All right. Any discussion before we vote?
The only thing I would like to encourage Jeremy to possibly, if I can convince you to attend on occasion when I'm there for the Main Street program. You've been well received by the program board of directors, and I think your input would be well accepted.
I planned on it anyway. I can't get away from it. There's too much good stuff going on there. It's what I told the mayor. I think we all, if tapped, would jump in any one of these. Hence, being up here, yes, there's a lot of sacrifice, but as long as I'm not out of town or at work or laying on a beach somewhere, there's I want to be part of that impact as many of us do. So absolutely.
No, I think it's a good mix of stepping up on the different boards, commissions, et cetera. And I know I've had fun on the ones I'm on and feel like I'm contributing to the benefit of the town. And I'm certain the other council members feel the same way. So keep up the good work, guys.
Mayor Pro Tem.
I'm excited to work with Councilman Strokota. I know your background. I'm excited to have you on the Finance Committee. We've got 2 new members. The audit, I think, is almost complete and ready to go. So thank you for offering to join the committee.
All right. Very well. All those in favor of approving the resolution appointing the town council representatives for local and regional boards, councils, and committees signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, nay? All right. We have our assignments. Next, item 6C, resolution number 30, series 2026, a resolution adopting the Timnath Reservoir Master Plan. Director Casal.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of council. Before you today is the resolution number 30, series 2026, adopting the Reservoir Master Plan. Just a little bit of background. Once again, it's been identified in the 2025 PROS Master Plan as an action item. As residents see the Timnath Reservoir as a highly desirable amenity. To date, the only kind of planning is a concept plan was completed in 2016, but the previous master plan was last completed in 2007. So we did select Los Designs after a competitive bid process in September of 2025 to complete the reservoir master plan. So the process included a comprehensive review of historical documents, a site review, and public engagement. Los Designs was out in the public. They did the engagement process that included a public open house, which was very well attended, a booth at the holiday festival, and participated in the town's project fair. Los Design also met with PROS committee on 2 occasions, met with representatives of the New Cash Ditch Company, as well as faculty and students at Timnath Middle High School. In addition, we also had a work session with town council. After that work session, we did put the draft master plan on your Timnath for approximately 3 weeks to collect feedback. A result of that is we came up with 8 project goals that were identified through the process. We want to enhance on-site pathway to create greater access to the reservoir, incorporate a diverse range of land-based outdoor activities through the site. One of the things we were wanting to do is try to expand the season because we get a lot of traffic during boating season, but there's so much more to that property that we wanted to expand the usage of that facility. So goal number 3 is to continue to lease and maintain control of the recreational rights within the reservoir property bounds. Number 4 is identify future opportunities, limitations, and plan accordingly. Maintain fiscal responsibility, incorporate designs that promote nature, enhance site identity through design, and promote educational opportunities. So they went through, and we have a lot of different goals with there, but the implementation plan included a 3-tier strategy. Tier 1 was key infrastructure and highly desired amenities by the community. Tier 2 was useful infrastructure, moderately desired by the community, and Tier 3 was low importance and mildly desired by the community. And then some of them were also, just so you know, we put some of them into the Tier 2 just because that was more of a longer range goal to kind of spread out any kind of cost associated with these. So as you can see, the green was the higher priority ones, and then the blue was the second priority, and then the brown is the third. So the reason why I mentioned the blue being still the second priority, because that still meets the overall goal, is to create a trail all the way around the reservoir. So, and then here's just kind of a look at where we're going, where we have an actual entrance is off of Biden's Gate, and then it wraps around through the reservoir property, and then over eventually to the current site, with adding some horseshoe pits, playground, disc golf, a sledding hill if we ever get snow again. And so these are all just proposed amenities. As you can see, this is just a reservoir master plan. In order for these things to come to fruition, there's still more. We would have to bring it in as part of the capital improvement projects. And then once we'd identified them, we would come to council for a second time to actually get funding for each of these. So this is just a master plan. It gives us a direction to move forward and helps me decide what kind of things we want to bring forth to council for potential funding. So, so the recommended motion is to approve Resolution 30, Series 2026, adopting the Timnath Reservoir Master Plan.
All right, thank you, sir. Questions?
Yeah, so one of the things I noted, and I appreciated the emphasis on recreation boating and the trails. I think that's vital to promoting connection, with our neighborhoods. The one thing that I thought maybe could have been developed further was some assessment of the variety of wildlife and avian in particular, since the Timnath Reservoir is recognized as one of the best top birding destinations in the whole state of Colorado. So I'm wondering whether or not that assessment had been done in an earlier plan, to your knowledge.
We didn't specifically include that a part of this particular plan.
Yeah, I would just encourage, as we bring forward capital projects in the CIP, that we give some consideration in terms of the impact on wildlife and whether or not we can improve those habitats as part of those projects.
Okay.
I guess my questions are, so what we're approving here is the plan, or are we, maybe give me a little bit more of like green, blue, brown. When do you see that coming to fruition, and maybe even a little bit of an idea of a budget for green? So say green is, phase one. When would you want that to be presented to council to potentially get under construction? What kind of budget, area are we thinking? Am I going too far down the road on that, or is this more of like we're approving the conceptual, what's been presented as this is the plan of attack moving forward for the reservoir?
Yeah, so this just gives us a general guideline. We do have cost projections for all of these that are within the master plan itself. That kind of gives which helps me come up with a budget. So when I bring it to CIP over the 5-year period, currently we have money to do a section of the trail this year, and then we were planning on potentially doing another one within the CIP. We have more money set aside for 2028 to do another section.
Okay, perfect.
And so we'll be able to be a lot more strategic with what we put in there and what we can afford as we move forward, because this, plus we also get to see what kind of grant opportunities we have to be able to afford some of these amenities as well. So it's part of the big puzzle.
Yep.
And like I said, we'll move forward with the green projects. Not all of them are going to be something that the council at the time will want to see, and that's okay. There might be some other easy wins that we can do quickly that may be in the blue category that will help. So it's all situational and needs change year over year. So
okay, yeah, and again, it's right in line with what I was thinking. I just didn't know if we were approving all green has to go, or none, or some blue, or maybe brown. One of the brown areas speaks to us more than one of the others.
So some of the brown options over here also kind of go into, a lot of these are actual signage that would go into what kind of birds are in that area and those type of things. So those could easily, and those are fairly low cost, that can be brought forward per section of the trail that we build, where, hey, here's where you're going to see these type of things. So it's designed to be flexible, but it also gives us room. It has engaged our community to tell us what they wanted to see out there. And like I said, there's going to be lots of approval processes before any of this actually come to fruition, and planning as well. So
thank you.
Councilman Jenkins.
Yeah, so I see this as a visioning document and prioritizing in a general sense, but you'll get down to specifics when you start putting a budget together and a capital plan, and so we'll see it again. My question has to do with this update to a master plan is 19 years, right, since the last one was done. So I would hope, given the pace at which we're doing recreational budgeting, development, capital improvements, I would anticipate that this master plan for the reservoir would be updated maybe closer to every 4 or 5 years. Is that a reasonable, because things change, right? And certain things are going to get done, and people may if you go through the process again 5 years from now, there may be some other amenities that would go higher up on the list, or something new that you haven't thought of yet.
Correct. And so typically master plans have the 5 to 10 year shelf life. It also depends on how aggressive we are in actually doing these things.
Right.
I've been a part of some master plans that have sit on the shelf and nothing's been done, and that's not my not my MO either.
No,
so.
and I don't think that's the council's MO either. I think we'll see progress on the master plan. I just hope that we can update it on a more regular basis as time goes on.
We look at every 5 to 10 years. That also includes the post master plan. We're looking at potentially an open space master plan in the future as well. So there's quite a few plans that help us guide the Parks and Recreation Department moving forward. It's just a matter of timing and getting things done. But
yeah, good. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
I think I was going to kind of ask maybe the same question as Bill, but does development guide any of this master plan as well? Because I know kind of around the reservoir, we're starting to get some development. So does that guide any of this master plan as well? Or is it just, again, capital?
not for this one specifically. That's more for the post master plan.
Okay.
But with any of our trails, as you can see, what we did in Wild Wing, we provided connectivity from the. Well, we actually connected to it, knowing that these trails would coming in. So we would encourage them to be able to connect to the trail. But one thing we have to remember is the more connections to the trail, the more likely we are out leakage of potentially non-residents using it. So, but yes.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Can you throw the recommended motion back up there?
There you go.
Great. Is there a motion?
I move to approve Resolution 30, Series 2026, a resolution adopting the Timnath Reservoir Master Plan.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Discussion. Councilmember Holt.
No, this is great, Tom. I think you hit the nail on the head. You like to bring things forward to us and get them done, right? I mean, you're listening. I think you've done a great job in your time here in surveying the community, finding out what the wants, needs, desires. This is a good roadmap. Not saying it'll all be done tomorrow, but this gives us a path forward with some budget attached to it in order to, at what pace and at what amenity we put forward first. So full support of it.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you again to the staff for the work that's been done, the community feedback, everybody, the residents that have gave their feedback. I appreciate the work session on this. And I want to thank, was it Los that did this? What I appreciated in this is the documents that they went back and reviewed, all of that. I appreciate Councilmember Strakota's feedback on that. I do think incorporating some of that wildlife will be important. Look at that. So I am going to support this motion tonight.
Councilmember Jenkins, anything? Councilmember Strakota? I'm also in support. A master plan is a vision. It's aspirational. It isn't a guarantee that things happen. But if you don't have a direction to go in, you don't move anything forward. We had previously kind of brought up a desire to secure a long-term lease there so that any investments that we make, we can continue to enjoy. So I know that's on the staff's radar. I will provide one comment, which is one of the green things kind of slated for within the next 3 years was a pump track. I guess I will just say that we are making a lot of recreational investments over the next 3 years, and I think that was $800,000 or so. So when we get to capital improvement time, I think we'll have to talk about whether or not that's realistic or not. But again, we want to be aspirational. We want to stretch. Right? Anything else? Then all those in favor of the resolution approving the Timnath Reservoir Master Plan signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed, nay? plan is approved. Thank you, sir. Item 60, resolution number 31, series 2026, a resolution approving a town council waiver for the Costco fuel facility expansion. Mr. Jones.
Good evening. I'm filling in for Lindsay. She is at the APA annual conference, and so you'll see that her staff report has her name on it, but the agenda has my name on it. That's why, even though we have the same last name, it is two different people. All right, let me. So this is in conjunction with a site plan application that's under review, but we did find one area where it is not in compliance with criteria, and so in order for them to move forward, we needed to answer the question of if they could get a waiver on a specific requirement. Property is on the comprehensive plan, the employment regional commercial designation. And in zoning is currently the regional commercial RC zone. This is the fuel facility associated with the Costco on Harmony Road in Weitzel. And just for a little background, this was originally developed as part of the site plan approval for Costco in 2014. At the time, the previous land use code that the town had was in place, and this was zoned the C2 zone within that old code. In 2015, the town did a revamping of the land use code and created some new zone districts, one of which is this RC, Regional Commercial Zone. And so at the time that this was developed, it was originally in the C2 zone. And at the time, the C2 zone did not have a maximum lot coverage for commercial zones when this site plan was originally approved. The request, and this is the site here, but the request is to exceed the maximum lot coverage of impervious area that's restricted in the land use code, and I'll get to that. The town council waiver is applicable for these items A through I above in the section 2.9.15.3. So lot coverage limits is one of those items that the town council may either grant or deny a waiver for, but it is one of the items that can be requested. So to reiterate, we are not talking about the approval of the site plan, but just to give you a little context, the proposed site plan is on the right, the existing site plan is on the left, and they are proposing through this separate process to add more pumps to the fuel facility there, so that currently each line going through the pumps has two pumps that the line can go to, and there will be 4 pumps that the whole line can go through once this is, if it is approved. That's what they're proposing. Now, in order to do that, the original landscaping you can see is on the left, and so there's quite a area. There's an area that is currently landscaped that they're proposing to add pavement to, and what's currently the percentage is a 67.2% lot coverage, and they're proposing to go up to 79.5 lot coverage. Let me just back up to just give you the site photo again, but you can see compared to the Taco Bell next door, you know, they're proposing basically to push their paving up about even with where Taco Bell's paving is. And let me go back to where I was here. So this is kind of the crux of the portion of the land use code that applies here. We've got this table for the dimensional standards that includes the lot coverage column. And as we were looking and analyzing these percentages, within staff, we were kind of thinking that perhaps this is an unintended number that's on there, because these three commercial zones have kind of a hierarchy of intensity. The neighborhood commercial is intended to be kind of more compatible with next to a residential neighborhood. Community commercial is sort of kind of this medium intensity, moderate urban character, and then the regional commercial is intended to have a higher urban character than either of the other two commercial zones. So as you can see, the neighborhood commercial has a 75% maximum impervious coverage. The community commercial has 80%. It may have been logical to either have 80 or higher for the regional commercial, but for some reason it's 70%. This kind of came to a head, I think, when Ladera did their PD overlay, and they increased successfully with council approval from 70% in the RC up to 80%. So currently, Ladera is allowed to have up to 80% individual lot impervious coverage. So because Ladera has been allowed that, and because of what I was saying about the intensities of the three commercial zones, staff feels that the intent is being satisfied, and that is one of the things the council needs to consider is at least one of these four conditions are met. We think the intent is being met, so that could be satisfied there. There's three criteria for a waiver, and staff feels that this really does comply with all three criteria. Primarily for the first one, because when the lot was originally created, it really didn't have a lot coverage as a requirement, and you know, the second and third criteria we think are really being met, because the RC zone elsewhere, which is basically Ladera, is the only other place that this RC zone is happening. That they're already allowed to be up at 70% or 80%. So what they're proposing is 79% and some change. So it's just under 80%. And that concludes staff's presentation. I'm not sure if the applicant wants to present it or not.
Hello, I'm Charles Bosley. I'm with Core States Group, representing Costco. I have Greg McCahey with Costco here as well. We really don't need to add time by doing another additional presentation. We've worked very closely with Lindsay and staff, and are in agreement with the staff report, and look forward to your approval. We're here to answer any questions you might have. We're in agreement. Thank you.
Great, thanks. We appreciate you being here, and we appreciate Costco being part of the Timnath community, so thank you. Troy, I'll have some other questions, but just real quick, if this is approved, what, if any, steps remain for this project in terms of town interaction?
They've gone through one round of review and received comments, and this was kind of a biggie, as you're not complying with this standard. So if you want to proceed, let's bring this to council and get your decision. And then the applicants will then submit a revision based on our comments and based on whether this is approved or denied.
Okay. And then at that point, is the site approved at the staff level? Does it go to planning commission?
This being a site plan review, let me go back to that chart. I think it'll answer that for us. Whoops. To that chart. Yeah. So it's this development site review. It will go to planning commission as for the approval. Yeah. It would only go to town council for approval if it had more than 2 or more buildings as part of the site plan.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification. Council members, questions? Councilmember Jenkins?
Yeah, so I have some comments, but I'll stick with questions at this point. In the revised site plan with the larger coverage and essentially doubling the number of pumps, having been through this Costco for gas as well as others with the 4-pump setup, I'm wondering if the lateral space or the width of the aisles for cars going in is any wider in the proposed than the current. And the reason I ask is that with 4 pumps, there's a lot more. With 2 pumps, they tend to both fill up at the same time and leave at the same time, so the next 2 come in and there's not a lot of going around somebody who's parked and pumping gas. But with the 4-pump setup, there's a lot more jockeying in and out for position. And I know it's a little tight there. I mean, it's doable, but the ones I've been through with 4 pumps, there seems to be a little more lateral room, so it's easier to jockey into position. So my question is, in the proposed, is there a little more lateral room there, or is it essentially identical lateral space to the existing pump configuration?
It's my understanding it's identical because the existing pumps are going to be in place and the lanes are going to stay as they are, so they're not moving any of the existing pumps.
Yeah, so it's definitely going to be tight.
I agree. Yeah. Again, that's part of what, the site plan approval will consider. And we've just had one
I'm
round
thinking of
review.
the one in Fairfield, California, for example, is has the 4-pump 4 line configuration like in the proposed, and it's pretty easy to go around a vehicle and pull in.
The existing islands really set the dimension
Yeah.
for the lanes. However, the expansion takes into account or makes accommodation for maneuverability by increasing the dimension spacing between the existing dispensers and the new dispensers.
I see that.
While
Yeah.
they are remaining in their dimension, which I believe is about 23 feet, the new dispensers are spaced at about 28.
Yeah, it gives you a little more room to pull in.
Exactly. They're designed to allow you to maneuver in and out.
Yeah, I can see that.
Thank you. Other questions? Councilmember Holt.
Yep, okay. Might be a layup question for you, but for you guys as an applicant. Is this to increase sales or to satisfy a issue that's occurring on a daily basis there?
Intent is to improve the efficiency of the fuel facility. The analogy that we like to use is like when you're inside a store, Costco warehouse, the more registers they open, the more members they can process, the lesser the queues, the shorter the lines. It improves everyone's experience purchasing fuel. So the purpose is improvement, efficiency, and by adding those dispensers, they're able to process several vehicles at a time, reduce the queues that they're experiencing.
So in your process of proposing this and multiple locations too, are there studies to show the traffic flow improvements that will come from doing this? And the reason why I say is it's a double-edged sword. So there's a risk, which is, I'm with Councilmember Jenkins on the bobbing and weaving in between gas pumps where the pumps are. And then there's the bottleneck that happens as you go into the parking lot as people are trying to get into the gas pumps and stuck there. So
And to answer your question, those are actually comments that are part of the second part of this, that our traffic consultants have been working with the city to resolve. We do have some modifications to left turn movements into the site.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you.
Councilor Strata.
Yes, just a couple of questions. One, I mean, obviously, the requirements on the impervious areas are tied to the zoning, but in this particular case, does the extension of the impervious area have any impact on surface water or stormwater runoff?
So no, this is a land use requirement, so they still have to meet all the other standards, which is also the stormwater too. So when the stormwater was designed here, it was designed for the whole facility. So it may look like it's a huge expansion for that lot, but it's really only about 1% for the whole facility, and they did do a preliminary drainage report. But that again is looked at the next phases, and they still have to meet all those other requirements. The waiver you do tonight does not affect those.
Okay. So then the other question is with regards to whether or not there can be a condition placed on the waiver, or would that be part of a next step in the process?
So Carolyn and I had a conversation earlier today about that, but when you look at the portion of the code on waivers, it explains that the only options that council has for this particular request is either approve it or deny it, but it doesn't allow for conditions like other types of approvals do. So anything to add to that?
That's correct. There still will be that site plan approval process. And, you know, if that's something planning, I think that is something where conditions are allowed. But also, yeah, in this case, the waiver process does not allow for conditions under the land use code.
Pro Tem, do you have a question?
Troy, in your opinion, as we kind of move forward, do we set a precedent for any other kind of waivers, or what kind of risks do we run doing this in this?
I think the precedent was set with the PD overlay for Ladera, and so this is just being consistent with, you know, decisions, I think, where the precedent had already been set. So I don't think we're setting a new direction with this. And one thing I forgot to mention in my presentation is the overall impervious area of the Costco development, or what's called Gateway South, is within the, you know, the percentages required overall. It's just there's also this additional lot by lot requirement.
Okay. And can you go back a slide? I think it was, or I think you were doing maybe a comparison of, I guess I was confused. Go back one more there. Can you explain what we're looking at with this RC max lot coverage? Can you explain what the purpose of these bullet points are here? Is this our neighboring communities and what they're looking at?
That's a question that I think begs to be asked. Is this maybe an appropriate place to consider an analysis of is this a code change that we might want to consider of letting regional commercial have more than 70% lot coverage? It would seem consistent to do so with the intent of, you know, that neighborhood commercial versus community commercial versus regional commercial have different intended intensities. And so we did look at other communities, and Cheyenne has an 85% maximum coverage for similar zone districts. Loveland has a 90% maximum coverage, and Windsor has an 85%. And, you know, Timnath at 70% for this type of zone. It seems like perhaps we might want to come back with an analysis to suggest if this might be a code change that would be appropriate in the future.
Okay, So in this at 70, it seems a little low as compared to some of our neighboring communities is what the point of these bullet points are. But and then Ladera is already at 80 is kind of a takeaway.
Yeah.
And
And
when
the
I talk
community-
about what President
And the other one is
President's
that community commercial is already at 80, which
Okay.
is intended to be kind of the moderate intensity compared to the regional commercial. So this may have been a typo, or we all inherited this code, all of the planning staff from years ago. So it's hard to say why that number's 70, but as we analyze it, we're thinking it should be at least the same as community commercial, possibly higher, but at least the same to be consistent with our notion of the the intensities of the three different character types of these commercial zones.
And to go back, we only have 2 areas currently that are zoned regional commercial, right?
It's in the whole intersection. I'm trying to think if Walmart is zoned regional commercial or not.
Right.
It might be, but it's really just the Harmony and I-25 commercial areas. And then there's places on our comprehensive plan that could, once annexed in the future, become regional commercial as well. But these are the only ones that are already in the town that are, regional commercial is really just the Harmony, I-25 commercial areas. Yeah.
Thank you.
Councilman Jenkins, do you have another question?
No, but I'm ready to make a motion.
Okay. Any other questions? Go ahead with your motion, sir.
Yeah, so I move that we approve resolution number 31, series 2026, a resolution approving a town council waiver for the Costco fuel facility expansion.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All right, discussion, Councilmember Jenkins.
Yeah, so I think they meet all of the criteria as outlined by the staff. I'll make a couple of other comments at this point. First of all, as I said, before I was on town council, if you have to use a PD overlay, which has been done in the town of Timnath numerous times, there's something wrong with your code. Because the developer has to get a PD overlay to be able to develop. It's telling you that your codes maybe need to be revised. So I'm with you, Mr. Jones, on this one. It doesn't make sense to me at all that regional commercial has an impervious of 70% when community commercial is 80%. It doesn't track with the towns around us. Seems like it was a mistake when it was put in place, and we've got, old code, and the way you fix old code right now is with PD overlays and waivers, and maybe we should be looking at code revisions. The second, so that's on that side of it. The other thing is personal experience. The current setup with the number of pumps we have there, and we all know it's a high traffic site. Gas prices there are a little bit lower. So it's a busy place right off the interstate, and the cars oftentimes stack up and get into the access lane and cause a bit of a traffic jam there. And my personal experience with the expanded 4-pump lane designs, personal experience, sample of one, is that it flows a lot faster. And in those environments, I've never seen it stack up outside of the drive lanes. You can always pretty much find an empty pump or one that's about to be empty. So I would anticipate if this expansion is put in place that there'll be much better traffic flow through the site and less blocking of traffic on that main road turning into Costco, which happens fairly frequently, particularly on the weekends. So I'm definitely in favor of this upgrade.
Councilmember Holt.
I think it's all been said.
Councilmember Stricoda.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that the applicant knows that my questions were not intended to indicate opposition. I think it's great that you're improving the efficiency of the flow.
Mayor Pro Tem Wagner.
Yeah, thank you, staff, for your thorough review of the criterion. I'm definitely looking through this, especially after Justin, your explanation on 2.9.15.5 with the stormwater. That was one of my concerns, so thank you for explaining it. I will be voting in support of it.
She didn't get the chance to sign up, but I'm guessing Joni Mitchell might have some comments on this.
Should we play the song?
Yeah. I mean, two arguments here fell flat for me. One argument that fell flat is this would have been approved 20 years ago, so we should approve it today. If that's the way things work, then why bother ever updating your land use code? The other one that fell a little flat for me was the neighbor can do it, so we should allow you to do it. It's approved in Ladera, so we should do it here. Those fell a little flat for me, but ultimately I do believe that this makes sense. I believe it will significantly improve the efficiency of the site. I also think that by allowing this, it is kind of congruent with what's going on with Taco Bell next door. I also think that if you zoom back a little bit and look at the Costco project as a whole, this is really a minor variation. So for all of those reasons, I support this. All right, so all those in favor of approving the town council waiver for the Costco fuel facility expansion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, nay? All right, we are approved. Thank you, appreciate you. All right, now moving on to item 6E, first reading and setting a public hearing on May 12th, 2026 at 6 p.m. for ordinance number 8, series 2026, an ordinance on which wheels go where as it pertains to micromobility. And I guess I'd kind of like to set our expectations here, given that we have a bit of a long agenda this evening. Certainly we'll have the staff presentation as always. I do know that certain council members do have some specific thoughts. So what I'd propose is after the staff presentation, if there's any questions, and then if folks have comments, maybe we could just each briefly express those but before we move to approve it. But I guess I just want to be conscious of time. So with that, Director Casal.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, thank you for your time to go over the which wheels go where policy. With this being the first reading, we are going to keep it pretty high level and pretty brief. Give you guys a chance. You guys have had a chance to review it in the packet. So which wheels go where? Ordinance number 8, series 2026 sets to establish clear enforceable rules for where bicycles, electric assisted bicycles, electric scooters, low-power scooters, toy vehicles, off-highway vehicles, e-motos, and other emerging micromobility devices may operate within town limits, including streets, sidewalks, bicycle lanes, trails, parks, open space, and town-owned facilities. The ordinance preserves lawful use of bicycles, Class 1 and Class 2 e-bikes, and electric scooters in appropriate areas while prohibiting higher-risk devices such as toy vehicles, off-highway vehicles, e-motos, low-power scooters, and Class 3 e-bikes from trails, parks, and other sensitive pedestrian recreation areas unless expressly authorized. The ordinance creates clear dismount zones, pedestrian yield, parking obstruction, trail use, town facility, and parental responsibility rules to improve safety, provide enforceable standards for staff and police, and also support public education. The proposed approach is generally consistent with state law and nearby communities, which regulate device location and use through specific local rules. So we used a lot of what the national standard is, what our neighboring communities are doing in order to come up with this policy. So, and just so you're aware that there is still current legislation going on at the state level. So there's a pretty good chance that we could be back in 6 months to a year to make sure that we align with any changes that the state comes up with. So, like I said, we were keeping it high level and pretty brief. Looking forward to hearing your guys' comments and feedback on the proposal as was written in the packet.
Okay, and we did have a work session on this. I know folks have been in contact with staff, but any specific questions before we take any comments? So at this time, I'd ask if there's any council members that have any thoughts on the legislation as currently proposed to maybe mull over the next 2 weeks before our public hearing.
Yeah. I'll tell you, I've read the ordinances for Windsor, for Johnstown. I've looked at other public documents for other other communities that are dealing with these same issues. And I would just like to say thank you for doing a really thorough job in writing this ordinance. I was expecting to nitpick, and when I went through, all of my nits were picked. The only thing that, and maybe it doesn't need to happen, but in the purpose relationship to state law under A, do we need to add trails and parks to that statement of where? It's just sort of a purpose statement, just to be consistent since we talk about parks and trails further into the document. But other than that, it's great. Thank you.
Thanks. Any feedback here? Mayor Pro Tem? I just had two quick thoughts. One is, it's not listed in this ordinance, but we separately have, thank you, Caroline, for letting me know, an ordinance that prohibits either careless or reckless operation of certain devices. And those definitions list a number of things that you could be cited, regardless of where you're operating them. If you're doing it in a careless or reckless way, you can be cited for that. As I looked at the list of devices, I wanted to make sure that we encompass everything that we're trying to regulate. And I wasn't quite sure if it does, obviously specifically these electric toy bikes, I think could maybe fall outside of that. So I didn't know if that's something we might want to look at.
Can I address that real quick?
Sure.
Okay, so it's actually in the model traffic code that we've adopted by reference, and because it's in the model traffic code, the devices that are included for careless or reckless driving are those devices that are authorized to be driven on roads. So it will not include something like an off-road vehicle or a toy vehicle, because those are not authorized to be ridden on public roads. And in talking with staff, we felt that that was appropriate, that the careless and reckless driving be limited to the items that are allowed to be driven on roads. And then for other devices, if they're driven on roads, the violation is driving it on a road.
Yeah.
Or driving it where it's not permitted. And I think that this, which wheels go where, some of these devices will not be permitted at all within the town on either trails or roads, so.
Yeah. And especially reckless, I believe, has a more severe penalty structure than just unlawful operation on the road. And so I guess my concern is, if somebody does something very reckless on one of these toy devices on the road, all we can really charge them for is being on the road. Whereas if they had done the same thing on a approved Class 1 electric bike, all of a sudden they could get charged with two things.
Yeah, and I mean, I have a related question because it's come up in other jurisdictions, and that that has to do with evading. And I know in other jurisdictions, off-road vehicles, that is essentially electric-powered motorcycle-like vehicles that are ostensibly for off-road use. When individuals have been attempted to be pulled over by police and then took off and subsequently caught, they've been charged with evading, which is a fairly serious offense. So I'm wondering if it, because of the model code for vehicles, would they not, if we had somebody evading a police officer and ultimately apprehended, would they not be able to be charged with evading because they were on an off-road vehicle?
I can't speak to that specifically. I can report back on that on second reading because I haven't actually looked at the evading requirements as to whether those require any individual to respond to a directive of police or not.
Okay, so with regard to the potential reckless behavior, to Lisa's point earlier about what are we trying to control? We're trying to control the behavior, and we obviously want safe behavior regardless of the vehicle type. So maybe we need to have additional changes to the model code that would cover the kinds of behavior that the mayor has referenced, even if it is not a licensed motor vehicle. If it's a vehicle operating at high speed in a reckless manner, there should be something more than a misdemeanor. You're not supposed to be riding on public highway or wherever the reckless behavior happens. So maybe it's something to consider for the future.
Thanks. So just a question I have. The other question I have, and I've had a couple of people ask this, is I don't think this is the first solution. As a matter of fact, I think it's the fifth, sixth, or seventh solution. But if we wanted to include a provision that would permit the impounding of offending devices after repeated citations or something like that. I don't intend to have the debate here today, but I just wanted to throw that out as well. Anything else before we move on? Okay. Then with that, is there a motion to approve on first reading and set a public hearing on May 12th, 2026 at 6 p.m. for this ordinance number 8, series 2026, an ordinance on which wheels go where?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Does anyone wish to say anything that hasn't already been said? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, nay? We will be back for public hearing and second reading on May 12th, 6 p.m. On to agenda item 6F, resolution number 32, series 2026, a resolution approving revised Timnath Special District Policy and Model Service Plan. Ms. Steffel.
Thank you. Okay, so as you know, first of all, to go over the process of how we got here, we have currently our special district policy was last updated in 2023. Our last model service plan was updated in 2019. There have since then been quite a few statutory updates been adopted to the special district code. So one of our goals is to update our model service plan per those recent developments over the past 6-7 years. The town council has held 2 public work sessions on February 24th and on March 10th to discuss in detail this proposed service plan modification and the proposed modifications to the policy. The town did adopt a 6-day moratorium on service plan submittals and reviews to allow us to have time to review these changes. And we, 2 weeks ago, I sent the revised model policy and service plan to special districts attorneys working within Timnath, quite a few, if not all. I don't know, they got most of them. I don't know if I got every attorney working in town, but quite a few of them that are working on special districts in town. We have received comments from the Metropolitan District Education Coalition that were included in your packet. And I also had a chance to, that is wrong. Okay, so I also had the chance to talk today with a special district attorney who works in the town, David O'Leary. And that's supposed to say from Spencer Fane. It's spelled wrong. Okay, we did have a request from Attorney O'Leary to continue the approval for 2 weeks to allow him to have more time to review it and review it with the developers that he's working with here in town. And then I did also hear from another attorney in town that, wasn't on the initial list of attorneys that wanted a chance to review it. So what I would propose today is to go over what the major changes are, to go over the comments we've received so far and what the requested modifications are, and then the council will either have the option to approve it or to continue this item for 2 weeks. Okay, special district policy, very few changes. The main goal changes are to indicate that when a metropolitan district is organized, it should substantially enhance the quality of the entire community instead of just enhance, and to bring in a reference to the goals and objectives of the Timnath Comprehensive Plan. So when someone comes in for an application, we would ask them to have a cover letter that shows how it meets the goals of the comprehensive plan, to put a little paragraph into the service plan, and that'll be part of their presentation to you. So when you are looking at this, you can see that the metropolitan district furthers those goals of the town. And the second one was just an application fee to, because there are costs associated with this pretty substantial update, to be able to recoup those legal costs through an additional application fee that will be on the applicants for new service plans. Okay, many more changes to the model service plan. So I'm going to go over these just really quickly, and I apologize if the text is a little small, but for organization and operational, some of these, I think we were implicitly in our service plan, just tried to make them a little more explicit. If you have multiple districts, explain to us why you need to have multiple districts. We've seen some that have 10 districts. Why do you need 10 districts? No director control districts. I think that's actually been the town's policy informally for quite a while, but it's expressly put in here. The initial boundaries should be set as close to the final boundaries as possible, and set forth, the use of the individual districts. Property should aim to be included within 10 years. Now, we can't make property include. That was one of the comments we received. So we're going to tweak that language a little bit to say, instead, that if property in the inclusion area isn't included in 10 years, they need the town's consent to approve it, as opposed to requiring inclusion because maybe the property owner doesn't want to include. Okay, property cannot be excluded from one after they both issued debt, or excluded to later create a control district by having a postage stamp. So just tried to close some of those items. We added the concept of an operations overlay district, which is something being seen quite a bit in northern Colorado right now, which is where you have resident control earlier in a development for the particular district that does the covenant control, the design review, noxious plan, weed plan enforcement, own and operation of the improvements, so that the residents have some more control earlier in the process for those public purposes. We added some requirements to post public documents on the website, and one addition that from Councilmember Strickota is to add that the proposed budget will also be posted by October 15th for the next year. That's already a statutory deadline that they have to circulate it. We're just going to require them to also put it on their website. And that's for increased transparency. There's a requirement to hold meetings in the town on either evenings or weekends, have a public comment session, and hold at least quarterly meetings once you get to the point that you have residents in the district. Before that, maybe they only need 2 a year, adopt a budget, adopt an audit, but now, once they have residents, we're gonna require regular meetings. And again, a change proposed by Councilmember Strakota from what was in the packet, but I think is a good change, is to, well, he would like to have that even when you have end users, the meetings still need to be on the evenings or on weekends. And I've actually heard that from 2 different council members. So that's a policy discussion you guys can have. But I have heard that from 2 of you.
Just, is everyone comfortable with that change, or is that something we need to discuss?
Okay. Let's see. We added that the town can require a service plan amendment or dissolution if no debt has been issued within 5 years of organization or approval of the service plan. In talking to one of the special district attorneys, I am proposing a little tweak to that language to what we do require is that they're going to come in, and if they haven't either issued debt or begun development of the public improvements. And his argument was, well, we shouldn't have to issue debt earlier. Sometimes you need the vertical development to get the good interest rate for your debt. So if they're not moving and actually doing district work within 5 years, that's when the requirement would be to come before council, make a report onto why you haven't made, much progress. And then the council can say, okay, well, we'll extend that time, or we'll, think about dissolution. And then I also think we can take out some of the proposed language that limited the district's authorization after those 5 years, so that we allow that a little more flexibility. And okay, powers. We added that some of the powers that would require town council approval that weren't listed before, but that I don't know that we have any districts providing these anyway. Ambulance, emergency service, trash collection, transportation service, or a newly added power that the legislature decides to add. They'd have to come back to council and get your approval to exercise those. Trash collection was added because the town may be looking at the possibility of municipal trash collections. If you're not going to go that direction, then maybe you want to authorize the metropolitan districts to do trash collection. The districts, okay, this is a technical, they can't override the town's land use requirements. They have to comply with the town's land use requirements. We did add a requirement that they must install dual water supply systems and use non-potable water for their public-owned property if the water district has that available as an option, unless they can demonstrate to the council that they have other water efficiency measures that's not needed. And that they can own non-potable water system, non-potable water to dedicate within their service area. We added a requirement for a capital improvement plan and O&M reserves, and no special improvement districts without town approval first. That's a kind of sub-district that is used for bridge financing, and it's something, again, that is becoming a lot more common in northern Colorado, but if they would have to ask for town approval, then we could put conditions in an IGA to make sure that their future residents are sufficiently protected. Financial changes, added a definition of development fees, no tolls without town approval. That was a council member suggestion. The towns, this is already a requirement. They cannot finance property they already need to dedicate to the town. Reimbursements for other landowners have to go to pay for the cost of that improvement or the debt. Reimbursements to developers require certification of an engineer that the improvement was completed and an accountant that those costs are accurate. As a third party, just as a due diligence measure, and added the definition of maximum authorization. I added a comment that the proposed maximum should not exceed 110% of the cost of the public improvements. That's not a text requirement, that was a comment. And the Special District Education Coalition did respond that they felt 110% was too low because of, you have to, in addition to the cost of the public improvements, have the financing costs on top of that. And they also said with how quickly the cost of capital improvements are escalating, they felt like that should be a higher number. So we could certainly make that 120, 125%. They'd rather have no limit, but I like to tie your debt limit to, in some way, what you actually need to finance your capital improvements. We changed, slightly lowered the maximum interest rate and the maximum underwriters discounted, updated the language regarding certification of an external financial advisor to match state law. This is a big one. We added a maximum debt mill levy of 40 mils and a maximum operation mill levy of 10 mils for a total aggregate of 50 mils, and that those would be adjusted from the date of service plan approval. And then we added a maximum debt mill levy imposition term for 40 years, and the term begins to run, you know, the draft had said within, when you start when you first certified a mill levy or collect a mill levy, you have 40 years from that date, or from 5 years from your first building permit. And one of the comments I received was a request to have the 5 years start running from this first certificate of occupancy, just in the event that someone gets a building permit, the economy tanks, they don't even have a building ever completed, then it doesn't make sense to start running that clock because you're not actually collecting any revenue. Building was never completed. Okay, and then we added some new exhibits: proof of ownership, landowner consent, a financial plan, and more disclosures. That both a disclosure that would be put in the sales office for new development sales and a recorded disclosure for purchasers. And we removed the exhibit regarding the TDA IGA because that is almost a complete, so I think it's unlikely we're going to need it in many service plans. If we do, we can put it in on a case-by-case basis. So those are the modifications. I want to thank the people who gave us comments so far, and the Special District Education Coalition took time to put together very detailed comments. I actually agree with most of their comments. Most of them are really minor wording tweaks, but they're clarifications that I think are appropriate and good changes. And so just to go through those comments, I don't think I need to go through all of them. Just to highlight a couple, I would say generally, I agree with their changes. Their definition of assessment ratio, I have a tiny word tweak, but generally, yep, I'm okay with that. One of their comments was that they wanted the maximum mill levy imposition term to be 40 years, not 35. So I did make it 40 years, and that is also consistent with feedback I've received from several council members after the draft went out. I recommend the 40 years because that is consistent with state law, which allows you to issue debt with a term of up to 40 years, and it's consistent with the vast majority of communities within Colorado. And I view your goal, not to put words in your mouth, but one of the goals of this is to still allow metropolitan districts to be organized, to effectively issue financing, but to make sure that there's sufficient transparency and protection for future homeowners. So we don't want to stifle the ability for people to come in and develop in the town of Timnath. At least that's my understanding of our goal. Just a couple of their comments I don't think we want to incorporate. One was we have a fee limitation that says you put your O&M fee in the original service plan. Once it's in there, they can increase it at a rate of, I want to say 5% a year. And above that, they have to come back to council for approval. Well, the Special District Education Association wanted no fee in the original service plan, with the thought that we don't know what fee we're going to need. So instead, why don't you require them to have a later consultant recommend a fee and then go with their consultant? That's not a change from your current service plan, actually. That's one that's in your current service plan right now. So unless I hear that you want to change that, I wasn't thinking we needed to change that. Okay. The financial review is another section, actually, that we didn't change anything. But they wanted us to change it because it allows us to do a financial review. And they said, well, doing a financial review on a 16 notice might cause trouble for later financing. I'm happy to follow up with special district attorneys to see if anyone thinks it's a problem, but it hasn't been a problem for any of our districts to date that I've ever heard of. So I don't feel that that's a change we need to make. And let's see. We talked about the 110% of the estimated cost of public improvements, that maybe that number could be increased a little bit, but it's a comment anyway. It's not a mandatory provision. I think they removed that the town can request additional financial forecasts and feasibility reports. I don't see why we'd remove that. And okay, so the only other comment that's worth discussing, I think, of theirs is the question is whether you want a limit on operations and mill levies at all. This was raised to me by one special district attorney that said, why do you need a limit at all on operations and mill levy, operations and maintenance mill levy? Since your total is 50 mills, you could just say 40 mills is the debt limit, but for O&M, they could go as high as they need to up to that total of 50 mills. The thought would be if you have a swimming pool or something that's got a lot of high O&M costs, or you're early because you haven't issued debt yet, or you're late and your debt's paid off, at that point you might want more flexibility in whether to have a higher O&M mill levy. The Special District Education Coalition actually suggested that we add that once it's a resident board, they could increase it from 10 mills to 20 mills to 30 mills to whatever they wanted, or make it unlimited. And I've heard from some council members that they don't want even residents to be able to make it unlimited. So that's one piece, I think, where I could use some direction, because I've heard kind of, the requests are different than what I've heard from council members, which are, maybe we want to keep that O&M limit in place even when you have a resident board. So I would ask for your direction on that piece.
I have a question. Can't they change the operations and management fees on an annual basis, irrespective of the mill levy? For example, I don't believe in the Metro District I'm in, they've raised the O&M fees that they say I need to pay on an annual basis or a quarterly basis without changing the mill levy, and they've done that without coming to the town. Because they said our water costs have gone up, we need to charge more, and they issue a bill.
Under the model service plan, now remember, this is only going to apply to newly organized districts. For any existing district, we would have to look at their existing service plan to see what it had. Under this proposed model, they would be required to get town council approval if they were increasing more than 5%. So there is a limit on how much they can increase those fees.
But
and
they
even
can come,
they can come to you, yes.
They could come to us and
Yes.
say, hey, our costs have gone up, and you go, yeah, okay, they've gone up, so somebody's got to pay it for the maintenance and operation. So
Yeah, I guess the thought is that they would, some resident boards might rather put it into the mill levy because it could be tax deductible depending on what tax bracket you're in, whether you have the, you take the standard deduction or you itemize. So that wouldn't apply to everybody. Also, you know, it might be easier for collection, or there might be other reasons why they want to put it into a mill levy instead of a fee.
Yep, that makes sense.
So those are all my comments. Those are my presentations. I will have some red line changes proposed to respond to these comments and the comments I've received, you know, in the past week from council members. And, but I've kind of gone through the major changes of what we'll be making changes to.
So, Carolyn, when this late request came in to delay this 2 weeks, my initial reaction was, this has been on the radar for several months, and that we really can't hold up our operations every time someone says, you know, I want to provide comment. That was my initial reaction. However, in hearing you describe this, I'm hearing that maybe the cake isn't quite baked, and that taking 2 more weeks to perfect some of this is probably better than rushing adoption today. Is that what I'm hearing from you?
Yeah, I think so. I have the red line changes. I could go through those line by line changes, but I think the easier way would be to just give you a red line in the next packet and not have to do this presentation. You know, you're just looking at the changes to respond to these comments, and then it does also allow anyone who has additional comments. I'm gonna let them know they don't have much time, because I don't want to be getting in comments again after the council packet deadline. And so I think anyone who has additional comments is going to need to get them to us real quickly here.
Let me just take an informal poll. Is there any strong opposition to us ultimately looking to continue this 2 weeks?
I don't have a problem with that. The only question I have is, when does the moratorium expire? And do we need to extend the moratorium so that we get this approved before the moratorium? Or is it not likely to matter?
Now, what we got, about a 2-day gap or something? Yeah, 2-day gap.
Yeah, that's probably
And one of
not
them's a
gonna-
weekend day.
Yeah, it's probably not going to matter.
Carolyn, do you assess our risk of something slipping through there to be minimal?
I do. I think the attorneys that I know that are proposing to submit service plans, I mean, I'm only aware of one that's, you know, will be working on a service plan, and I've talked with him. He's aware of these changes, so I don't expect that something would be submitted in that 2-day window.
Okay. Well, it sounds like ultimately we're likely to entertain a motion to continue this for 2 weeks, but before we take that up, I guess I just offer each council member a brief moment if they have any initial thoughts, reactions, or concerns to share for Carolyn to keep in mind as she's perfecting this over the next 2 weeks. I'll start over here. Ask Councilmember Strakota if you have anything.
No, I'd like to, extend my appreciation for considering the changes that I proposed. I think the biggest challenge that end users have is that, you know, they're not, you know, there's the disclosure and transparency is not taking place, but that applies to the existing metro districts, which will not be impacted by this. So I'm hoping that we might be able to, in some other form, be able to address that in the future. Secondly, you know, one of my major concerns has to do with the issuance of debt. And oftentimes, that debt is issued by developer-controlled boards. And as a consequence, they dictate to the financial advisor how that's going to be structured or termed. The advisor is obviously going to give their best advice as to how to do that. But, you know, if I were in that position and controlled what the advisor was doing, I certainly would make sure that it was working to my advantage. And then you have, in the case of refunding, sometimes the developer reimbursement obligations are rolled into refundings. And there may be those cases where again, the financial interest of the developer might be such that they want to advance that to be able to get their reimbursement quicker, which may not be to the advantage of the end users with regard to a refunding of the debt overall. So that was my concern there. And I guess I'd like for us to maybe think about that before we finalize. Maybe there's a different way of doing it than the one that I proposed. But those were my primary concerns.
Councilmember Holt, anything?
No, just briefly, I think I'm in favor of the 2 weeks. I don't think we need to go any more than that. I think, it's the speak now or forever hold your peace situation as you're describing. I will also echo with Councilmember Scrota the need, if in future, it's obviously not in this position, but to go back and figure out what we can do to be more transparent and affect what's currently in place. Obviously, getting this right now, knowing how long it's been since we've looked at it last, I think is extremely important, and 2 weeks isn't going to make or break us.
Councilman Jenkins, anything? Mayor Pro Tem?
I was one of the council people that expressed just a little bit of concern about just having those unlimited O&M fees so early on. So I think my hesitation with that is just like removing that cap immediately and just allowing it to just skyrocket initially. So I think I would be one of those people that say just don't remove those caps and keep coming back to council. I think that's one control that I think is important, especially early on in the process. I think, Carolyn, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they said just completely remove that cap. Is that one of their recommendations?
That is, yes, that was one of the requests, is that there not be a cap on O&M.
So I think as council, I would say don't remove that cap. So it would be one of my recommendations, but I think I appreciate the work you've done, Carolyn. This has been a long haul. As council, I know we've got, I would continue this council to continue look over this, pore over this. If we see things that are happening as we get metro districts that come in and we read through their what they're submitting, I think maybe minor tweaks as we see these come in and what we're seeing would be important, rather than taking big bites out of this every 4 years would be important, maybe for just minor tweaks.
Yeah, and with regard to the issue of the O&M fees outside of the mill levy or with the mill levy, I do understand why a higher cap might be desirable from a tax perspective to at least a subset of the end users. So would it be possible in the new model to allow that to be approved by coming to council so that you could exceed that 10 mil levy if it was justified?
Yes, we could have that approved by an agreement instead of by a service plan amendment. A service plan amendment is a much more burdensome process.
yeah.
You've got the public hearings, so that could be something where, again, if it's an end user, would you limit that to the end users board when it's a majority of residents and tenants, or just any district could ask for that?
Probably, because it would more likely come up late in the process, because you're going to hit the 50 mil probably, and the reason to have the cap in place is when the main debt is paid off, they can't just skyrocket the O&M mill levy, right? If it was unlimited, they could just raise it, right? And up to the 50 mils, right?
Correct.
So, so it makes sense that it more likely would happen late in the process.
And remember, whenever we say a mill levy limit, they are all subject to adjustment for changes in the way that the assessed valuation is calculated. And that was one request also I didn't mention from the special district Beautification Coalition was that everything be adjusted from 2021, just because right now taxes are just wonky. There's this credit and that credit, and it's changing. But I think we have a way to deal with that. I think if we made it from the date of service plan approval, if we are in a year where sales tax percentages are unusual, we'll deal with that. I think we can deal with that in the drafting of that specific service plan.
Carolyn, do you think you have what you need? Very good. I'm always imperfect in this language. I always say continue, but I know you have a preferred term.
Continue is fine.
Continue
So
is
it would
fine.
be continuing to a date certain. So it'd be a motion to continue until May 12th, 2026 at 6 p.m.
Very good. Then is there a motion to continue this matter to May 12th, 2026 at 6 p.m.?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, nay? We'll be back on May 12th. I'm not sure why item 7 is on the agenda. I don't think we have anything we need to hit there, so I'm going to move on to item 8, which is a proposed executive session. At this time, is there a motion to move to an executive session pursuant to CRS 246402-4A related to the purchase, acquisition, lease, transfer, or sale of any real, personal, or other property interest, including without limitation discussion of town properties?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor of moving to executive session signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, nay? All right, we will move to executive session. Aiden, let me know when we're good to go. All right, we have emerged from executive session. That was our last agenda item this evening. So we will stand adjourned until May 12th.